Hey, it's me and my channel. I didn't make it down to the Flugtag at Lake Michigan today. When did I go to that? I've been to that in years. Like 05 was the last time I went, or no, I had it before that. Yeah, it's really odd. Things about the cults, just because it's already been brought up a lot. And just people even asking me on Skype about cults. And one definition, I would say, the cult's shunning is probably the greatest thing. The fact that if you're a Mormon and if you go out and you fornicate or you do whatever you want, I have a pillow underneath me because when I sit like this, it's kind of awkward position because I'm kind of pushed up against this corner. It's actually kind of a kick-ass like paisley thing. She had these made. The company that's right next to our store, but it's beside the fact. Uh, oh, you can see in the background. Cool. Yeah, the Mormons. If you can go out and do whatever you want, basically, like kind of leave Mormonism, just as long as you don't become a Christian. Jehovah's Witness, it's the same thing. With Scientology, you're not allowed to even even though it's like experiential and this thing, but you couldn't go to like a yoga class or meditation or actively being in church. You couldn't do any of those things. You'd be shunned, and people wouldn't. No active member could talk to you. Rollcore was in schism. They were schismatics, and I talked to Rollcore people. ROAC is schismatic now, and I still talk to ROAC people. I talk to people who had wound up leaving the Orthodox Church. I said, well, did you ever embrace it? Did you ever believe in God or Christ? And they said, no. Okay. All right. Or, in all these different things, but, even from my transition, like, obviously my parents, I mean, my mom is a Catholic, I don't ever see myself leaving. I see it as a return. I see myself baptized as Christian, and then because it was baptized, confirmed, even though I'd argue with, the CCD teachers and everything, I was raised Muslim, and Jesus wasn't God. There's only one God, and, even the person in Saudi Arabia that I'm talking to, or who's from Saudi Arabia and has to go back there, um, said that no, all Bibles are banned. That it was actually shocking to him to hear me say that, I was showing that the Gospel Mark was like the most true thing, and then next to that was the Sermon on the Mount, and then nothing else. And it's funny because you hear that from many Muslims in America. I guess my father's more liberal, and people who are raised Roman Catholic are usually more liberal in their, like, the Roman Catholics are probably like the most liberal in their treatment of people. It actually makes them less cult-like than anyone else. This shunning people. Now you can see it. The light's hitting it in the back. See that? I love this thing. This is awesome. This pillowcase that I had made. I actually had it made for my mom, but I don't know. Now I'm using it. Yeah, the thing with the cults is, one thing is shunning people. Amish have shunning. They'd shun people who come back and then leave after Rumspringa or whatever they call it. I would consider the Amish a cult. I mean, I in the past I had immense respect for them. But being Orthodox, there's the discipline that already exists in the Christian Church. You don't need to go back to some arbitrary time of the Industrial Revolution and say, okay, anything beyond that is evil. Except when it's convenient for you, because they have tractors and other things like this. They'll modify the wheels to actually be to go, like, you know, but they'll pull it with like a horse or something, or in their barns they'd have all this machinery. And I've heard people say, yeah, I knew not Jehovah's Witnesses, Amish people, but they'd inside their barn they'd have all these things. They would have like a cell phone on them, or so they are hypocrites. It's the one thing that we can say of the Amish, is that they're totally hypocritical, and there's no such thing as an Amish person actually living like it's whatever 1820. You know, it's no, or even before that. You know, it's 1781. It's not 1781. And it's not for them either, because they drive cars, they do this or that, and I mean, they may go down the street in their buggy, but I think that's a form of being a Pharisee, just as I think all these cults are. The cults are the worst of the worst, and the one thing that disturbs me the most is that when Mormons leave Mormonism, they condemn Christianity. I think this bothers me the most. Or a Jehovah's Witness leaves the Watchtower organization. They condemn Christianity. Same would go for Christadelphian or the Children of God movement. Children of God movement is a sex trafficking organization that actually promotes pedophilia. Highly supported by NAMBLA. Yeah. That adults should be having sex with children at the earliest age possible. Even with under a year. Now, there's something like this actually repulses me so much that I would probably kill somebody doing that. That's just me. Then again, I think that's why some of the base laws in the Old Testament, I can look at that and say, I understand that. And maybe people attribute that from Islam, that, like, yeah, there's the idea of, you know, just killing somebody because they're just fucking evil, just kill them. Like, if you harm a child or you abuse it, because if you mess with a kid sexually before the age of puberty, it screws them up. It does. This is a proven fact. You are messed up in the head. Now, I will concede that I was never messed with or sexually abused or anything like that, like, as a child in any way, shape, or form. No way possible, right? Like, it just did not happen. Although, like, my desire for women is crazy, and, like, you know, I don't know, I guess paradise still would be for me, as Jinnah would be, but, like, it would be a harem of, you know, wide-eyed, beautiful women, you know, and which is not what I'm going to meet at the end of my life. That's not what I'm going to meet. There's temptation to focus on that. I could say maybe that's where that comes from, but I think that's just being a guy. And, or at least as a single guy, because if I probably was married or had a woman, like, there's been women of interests where it kind of just knocks that out, like, just like, alright, cool. Kind of dropped contact with one, so now, or, well, way too personal, shouldn't have brought that up. But it's strange, this idea of shunning, of you can commit a sexual act, or you could do this, or you could do that, and your family and your friends and your grandparents and your nieces and nephews will never ever talk to you again. Ever. Either until you come crawling back or never. Jason Begay points out, he says, just imagine, like, he's giving a speech in Germany, in Hamburg, Germany, about, or Hamburg, or however they pronounce it, about Scientology being destructive. He says, imagine just if you're Catholic, you know, and if your child dies, you know, and you say, I can't believe there's a God. He says, we've all known stories like this happens, you know. He says, and you are a Catholic, you know, that might screw up Christmas dinner with your parents, but it's not gonna, they're not gonna say, never speak to me again, or anything like that, you know. So I think one thing you could put in the category is this idea of shunning, which goes hand in hand with the practice of love bombing also. But again, I direct people to Steve Hassan, which is, well, I don't know, I could get into Billy Bob's fake name of Akbar Hassan. That's not his name. And actually, maybe I'll bring it up to the Saudi Muslim turned Christian that I talked to, because if you know anything about Islam, you couldn't have that name, Akbar Hassan. It would be Akbar is actually well, it's going into something completely different. But yeah, Steve Hassan, Robert J. Lifton, I think they lay out pretty clearly what a cult is, and that not all religions are cults, and not all cults are religious. When people joined the Solar Temple, they thought they were going into organic farming and going into, like, veganism. Jim Jones, yeah, it was from the Pentecostals, but it was always or the Charismatics, but it was also a political movement. Scientology gets people through businesses, and there's things like Amway and Quickstar, which can easily be labeled cults. So, yeah, this idea of shunning, I think, is indicative of a cult. Anything that is a shunning of, I will never speak to that person. You know, this whole thing. I mean, we can talk about the verse of, like, you know, I will divide father from son, mother from daughter. But that's the pagans doing that. That's not the Christian doing that. The teaching of Christ, when it enters you, yeah. If you're an Islamic family, this is the funny thing that many evangelical Christians don't realize, but I was even at the charismatic Anglican church that I went to. They said, yeah, it's kind of funny that even Muslims will recognize once you get baptized, that's it, you're cut off. Before then, you can kind of toy with Christianity or whatever, and they're not going to consider you fully cut off until you're baptized. which that charismatic Anglican church actually led me to Orthodoxy in its own way, but I was already seeking it out. Which again, people say, well, you believe, how's it any different from Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons, where they believe that they're the one true, I guess they would use theocratic organizations. I don't know if we would use that. We'd say we're the church. We know where the church is. We don't know where it's not. We know where the Holy Spirit is. We don't know where it isn't. And because of the various schisms, whether political or, I mean, there's no way I can be honest as an Orthodox person and condemn all Protestants or Catholics or Orientals or the Syrian Church of the East. I couldn't do it. Not even being honest, but even outrightly, if I said this, I would probably wind up getting condemned by the Eastern Orthodox Church. Now, that's neither hypocritical nor moderate, because I'm not compromising any common creed or belief. Outside of the church, there is no salvation. That's true, but who is inside the church? God knows. Only God knows. And we can get into, can you be assured of yourself? Do you love Christ? Do you love Christ? You're good. Keep walking that out. There's many Catholics that are probably much closer to Christ than I am. I'm sure of it. I know it. I am actually horrible at being Orthodox. I'm actually terrible at being a Christian. Thank God for Christ and grace. But do I still try to walk it out? Absolutely, every day. Do I fall? Yes. Do I fall like 100 feet down? Yeah, sometimes. But that's just it. It's just like if somebody asked me, have you ever does the church condemn X as being a sin? Yes. Have you ever done X? Many times, and I've enjoyed it. Well, then, are you not, like, well, yeah, but I come back. Say, but were you ever active in that? Kept doing that? Yeah, and I kept coming back and repenting of that and trying to work. We call those passions, the things that are in us. And people could say for me, like, probably not good to reveal them on YouTube, but whatever. I'll keep private things private, you know. Oh, it slipped up earlier. Alright, I just want to make a video about that. Peace to you. May God save Serbia and Syria. And please pray for all those who are in pain. I can summarize it like that. Take it easy. Hey, it's me and my channel. I didn't make it down to the Flugtag at Lake Michigan today. I wanted to go to that. I've been to that in years. Like 05 was the last time I went, or no, I had it before that. The cult's shunning is probably the greatest thing. The fact that if you're a Mormon, and if you go out and you fornicate or you do whatever you want, I have a pillow underneath me because when I sit like this, it's kind of awkward position because I'm kind of pushed up against this corner. You can go out and do whatever you want, basically, like kind of leave Mormonism, just as long as you don't become a Christian. Jehovah's Witness, it's the same thing. With Scientology, you're not allowed to even, like, even though it's like experiential and this thing, but you couldn't go to like a yoga class or meditation or It's actually kind of a kick-ass, like, paisley thing. She had these made, the company that's right next to our store, but it's beside the fact. Uh, oh, you can see in the background. Cool. Yeah, the Mormons. If you, yeah, it's really odd. The things about the cults, just because it's already been brought up a lot, and just people even asking me on Skype about cults. And one definition I would say